Good morning, children. I hope you have listened to the previous video where I have discussed about the failures and achievements of the early nationalists or the moderates. Right, everyone? And what was their failure and the achievement? As everyone knows, they were criticized for their beggarly methods, right? And obviously, because their methods are quite moderate. So, obviously, the other section, other phase of the INC that was assertives, they were simply hate these things. Clear? Because they would never ever listen to these sort of methods, these Britishers. And what happened to the moderates? They simply believed in the constitutional means, they simply believed in the Britishers' sense of justice. And the very first and the achievement on their part was what? Ki there was a reform made in Indian Council Act. From now onwards, that more and more Indians are getting appointment in the Legislative Council and the Executive Council. At that time, this was a parliament of the Britishers, right? There were two bodies, that means there are two organs, legislative and executive wings, got the more appointments from Indian side. Right, everyone? So this was the achievement on the part of Indians, on the part of early nationalists. Clear, everyone? So let's start with this video now. Okay, the prominent leaders of early nationalists in our syllabus. Now we have three prominent leaders and we have to read about them in depth, right? So these three prominent leaders are Dadabhai Naroji, Mahadev Govind Ranade, Gopal, Krishna, Gokhale, Surendranath Banerjee, right? So these three prominent leaders we're going to read in depth. Here Mahadev Govind Ranade, just the name you just learn, otherwise rest three we'll be doing in depth. Clear? About the contributions, what happened, how far they have gone in INC, and at what level they achieved, their achievement was, what kind of books they have written, and what sort of contributions they have done in the freedom struggle. Clear? All these things will be reading in depth about these three moderates or early nationalists. Clear? Dadabhai Naroji, Mahadeva Govind Ranade, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Surendranath Banerjee. Surendranath Banerjee is not new to us. We have already did in chapter 2, that is in the growth of nationalism, where he has founded the body Indian Association and the Indian National Conference. Clear, everyone? Let's start now. So we have the contribution Dadabhai Naroji. The very first of all, we're going to start with Dadabhai Naroji. And Dadabhai Naroji, date I've already mentioned, born in the year 1825, right? Death in the year 1917. Now the contributions are as follows. He was called the Grand Old Man of India, right? He was known as the India's unofficial ambassador in England. That means he was the first one who has represented the Indians in England, right? Next, he has founded East India Association in 1866. Everyone knows East India Association was simply known as the precursor of Indian National Congress. I've already given you in depth. And what was the objective of East India Association? The East India Association, it was founded in London, and Dadabhai Naroji makes sure with the formation of this body, they wanted to make Britishers aware about the conditions of Indians living in India, right? Next, he was the first Indian to have won a seat in British House of Commons in 1892. Due to the effort of Dadabhai and Bread Laugh, that British House of Commons recommended the ICS to be both held in India and England. And if you remember in chapter 2 under growth of nationalism class, what they did, under Lord Lytton repressive policies, they simply reduced the age from 21 to 16, 21 to 19, right? And here, so that they really want to make the ICS Indian Civil Service examinations tough for the Indians. But somehow Dadabhai Naroji, due to Dadabhai Naroji's effort, and obviously he has simply taken the efforts of other Britishers as well, that ICS examinations age was again back to normal. Now there would be a simultaneous examinations to be held both in India as well as in England. This was achievement on the part of Dadabhai Naroji, and he was a moderate. Next, he presided over the session of Congress in 1886, 1893 and 1906. And if you see, Dadabhai Naroji's candidatures was so high that he was being appointed as the president of INC, and he has attended almost all three sessions of INC, Indian National Congress. That means other Congress members really appreciated the efforts of Dadabhai Naroji, and they had a huge respect for him. Clear? Next, Dadabhai name and fame made it difficult for the assertive to oppose his candidature. Now all the time, obviously, I'll be letting you know who were assertives. Assertives were totally opposite of the moderates, right? And assertives also try to criticize the moderates or the nationalists. But just because of Dadabhai Naroji, they simply keep their mouth shut, and they simply, they didn't even criticize. Why? Because Dadabhai Naroji was also a moderate, and in his presence, they maintained this such kind of dignity that they never criticized the moderates in presence of Dadabhai Naroji. Let's move on to another slide. Now, other contributions of Dadabhai Naroji. Now, Dadabhai for the first time used the word Swaraj in the Congress session. The Swaraj, everyone knows, right? And he has used this word in the Congress session. This is the biggest achievement, that you are using the word Swaraj, right? The Congress session of 1986 passed resolution of Swaraj, boycott, and national education. And here from there on, the INC has passed the resolution. They're going to aim. Resolution means now they're going to aim for what? They're going to aim for Swaraj. They're going to boycott, and they're going to focus on national education. Clear? Now, next, delayed emphasis on the nature of British imperialism and cause of poverty in India. Now, Dadabhai Naroji, he simply, talked about the British imperialistic nature, and he has written on the book Poverty, right? Poverty in India, the cause of poverty in India. He has simply, make Indians aware about the poverty, the cause of poverty in India, and how come the drain of wealth, how come the wealth was being drained from India to England. This was all being, taught by Dadabhai Naroji to the Indians. Dadabhai Naroji has simply written in his book, in his book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, right? He has mentioned about lot many things, and he exposed the evils of Britishers in his book. Clear? Now, he has written the famous drain theory. Drain means the wealth is being drained. How come the wealth of India, Indian treasury, was being drained from India to England, right? He has edited Rast Goftar. It was a Parsi book, and Dharma Marg Darshak. He has edited all these magazines. Clear? Now obviously, and the last point says what? The wealth was being taken in the form of salaries, savings, pensions, payment to war offices, in the trading agencies. So this way, the wealth is being taken from India to England. This were all things. These many strategies was being exposed by Dadabhai Naroji to the Indians. Clear? Let's move on to another slide. Now, another contributions of Surendranath and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Now, these are another moderates. Dadabhai Naroji, we have ended with Dadabhai Naroji. Clear? Now, we are going to start with Surendranath Banerjee and later on Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Now, what happened to Surendranath? Let's see now. Surendranath, born in the year 1848, died in the year 1925. Clear? He was called the Indian Burke because of his oratory. He was a very good orator, and he can easily convince the Indians, right? So that Indians can very well, with interest, listen to his speeches. And he was called the Indian Burke, and he was simply, this name was after Edmund Burke, right? And Edmund Burke was a very good orator. Next, he was dismissed from ICS exam and started the Lord Ripon College. He has also cleared the Indian Civil Service exams, but he was dismissed from his post. Clear? And later on, he has started the Lord Ripon College. Clear? Next, in 1876, he founded the Indian Association. Already explained you, right? He fiercely, and under the Indian Association, under his body, he has criticized what? The Vernacular Press Act, Arms Act, reduction in age limit in 1877, right? Is that clear, everyone? So all these things like Arms Act, Vernacular Press Act, and the reduction of age limit in ICS exams was being criticized by Surendranath in his body, Indian Association. Right? In 1878, elected to the Bengal Legislative Council. Obviously, he was a very powerful figure in Indian National Congress. So he was elected to the Bengal Legislative Council. Then next, convened the Indian National Conference in 1883. He has started the Indian National Conference in 1883, which later on was merged with Indian National Congress. Clear, everyone? So I hope so. All these contributions are being cleared in your brains. What these early nationalists have done to the Indian freedom struggle. Clear? Now come on to Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Gopal Krishna Gokhale, born in the year 1866, died in 1915. He was known as political guru of Gandhi. Who was political guru of Gandhi? Gandhi literally respected, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and he was very much, he simply moved to South Africa with Gandhi, where Gandhi was fighting for the cause of Indians living in South Africa. Clear? He was fighting for the law made to the Asians. Clear? Next, now he edited Sudharak, was awarded the title of Companion of Indian Empire in England, right? Because he has simply represented India in England, so he was awarded the title, and he has edited Sudharak, the magazine. He was against the partition of Bengal. Now I'll let you know, partition of Bengal was held in the year 1905, right? And the moment the partition of Bengal was, was imposed, this Surendranath, this Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he was simply criticized all the measures taken by the Britishers. No doubt he was simply believed in the Britishers' sense of justice, but somehow, just because of Britishers' evil methods, he criticized openly. Clear? Now next, he believed in constitutional agitation, petition, and appeal, because he himself was a moderate, so he has adopted the moderate methods. He simply believed in the British constitutions, right? Then he simply go for petitions, and he simply appealed, right? He supported the Swadeshi movement, and side by side he was doing much things for India. He has supported Swadeshi movement as well. That means he was supporting both the things. He was supporting the Britishers also, as well as to the Indians, as well as the Indians. Clear? But somehow, if Britishers did the evil, evil activities in India, he simply criticized all these activities openly. Clear? Now next, he had pleaded for the reform in legislative council, and he wanted to change the some few reforms in legislative council, so that the Indians can be get benefit out of that. Clear? So these all the contributions of other reformer, other moderates, that means Surendranath and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. We have more contributions as well. Now, more contributions as follows: Surendranath and Gopal Krishna. So, let me explain you first Surendranath. Surendranath presided over the session of INC in 1895 and 1902. See, he was also a very respectable member of the INC. So, he was also being called all the time for the session meeting. Clear? And this was the biggest achievement. Next, he edited the Bengali, which criticized the Albert Bill and Vernacular Press Act. As I told you, he openly criticized many activities of the Britishers, which he thinks he had to. Right, everyone? And he has edited the Bengali obviously the newspaper, and where he has, which he criticized, and he has criticized Albert Bill and Vernacular Press Act. And you know everything, you know very well what was Albert Bill and the Vernacular Press Act. Clear? Next, now he was a firm believer in India's right to self-government. He really wanted to Indians to achieve the formation of self-government, so that Indians can very easily form their own government, right? And that too within the framework of the Britishers' constitution. Next, his best known book, A Nation in Making, right? He has written the book A Nation in Making. Obviously, he has talked about India a lot and supported Swadeshi goods. And if you remember, Gopal Krishna Gokhale also supported Swadeshi goods, clear? Homemade goods. Next, now his principles was opposition where necessary, cooperation where possible. This quotes really explained you a lot ki how come Surendranath Banerjee supported the Britishers. So he said ki he simply quoted ki opposition where necessary. If it was necessary, that like yes, Britishers was doing many things against the Indians, then only the opposition, then only Indians can oppose their methods, right? And cooperation where possible, and Indians do, and Indians literally have to cooperate with the Britishers like anything. Clear, everyone? Next, now let's move on to more contributions of Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Now, in 1905, established Servants of India Society. Now, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, in the year 1905, he has founded which society? Servant of India Society. And what was the objective of Servant of India Society? To create a passionate love for the motherland. Right? He really wanted to produce more, Indians, and he really wanted to inculcate the passion and the love for motherland, that is India. Clear? With the formation of this body, that was Servants of India Society. Then next, he pleaded for the reduction in salt duty, abolition of excise duty on cotton goods, employment. He simply talked about employments of the Indians, and same here. Just like, if you see, just like other reformers like Surendranath Banerjee or the Dadabhai or Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he too simply pleaded in the Legislative Council for the reduction of salt duties on cotton goods. Clear? In 1910 and 1912, in the Imperial Legislative Council for the Indian bonded labor in Natal. Natal is the place in South Africa, and he simply talked about a lot in the year 910 and 12 in the Imperial Legislative Council about their conditions. Clear? Next, he has pleaded for primary education, supported ICS services. Clear? He too really wanted to remove that act which really says about the reduction of age limit of ICS examination. Clear? Then next, he simply wanted, he simply reduced the land revenue. He simply pleaded the Britishers, and he simply pleaded, what he has pleaded, he really wanted to reduce the revenue on land. Clear? Next, he really need state protection to infant Indian industries. He really want Britishers to protect the Indian industries. Clear? So this way we have come to the end of the video. So I hope so children, people have understood what were the contributions of early nationalists or the moderates. Clear? As I told you, moderates they have a firm belief in Britishers' methods of justice. They criticized Britishers, but but in a peaceful manner. Clear? They never use strong words or strong languages for the Britishers. Clear? And among them in our syllabus we have three moderates that we are going to read them or learn them about in depth. And they were, as I already told you in my slide in my video, the earlier was Dadabhai Naroji, explained you, right? The grand old man of India. Then next, Surendranath Banerjee was known as Edmund Burke, and the third Gopal Krishna Gokhale, right? And Gopal Krishna Gokhale was what? He was a political guru of Gandhi. So I hope so while listening to the contributions of these reformers, these moderates, you can very easily assess what they are for. That means they are not a blind followers of Britishers. They were criticizing their methods also, but in a respectable manner, in a disciplined manner. They were criticizing the Britishers' methods of and justice. Clear? And they believed in the Western education. clear, and with their candidatures, with their, with their appearance, with their personality, with their strong, command over English, clear, they were being chosen the president of Congress twice or thrice, clear, be it Dadabhai Naroji or Gopal Krishna Gokhale or Surendranath Banerjee, clear. So I hope so people have understood what were the contributions, clear. Okay, so we are coming to the Gopal Krishna Gokhale, obviously founder of foundation, founded the Servants of India Society. He has pleaded for many things, as I've already explained you, right? He has pleaded for Indian bonded labor. Then he really wanted the reduction in salt duty, wanted the abolition of duty on cotton goods. He really talked about employment. So all these things really, paved a greater way for the struggle in the freedom. Though we have a long way to go, but somehow these moderates, created the base for the freedom struggle, clear. And they were being, their achievement was what they made Indians aware about democratic institutions, clear. And somehow their achievement was what they really taken Indians to a new level. And from now onwards, after coming of moderates in Indian National Congress and as a nationalized body, these Indians too got the appointment in the administrative sphere, in the administrative department of the government. That means Indians got their appointment in legislative and executive councils, clear. So do listen to this video attentively, and you will get all, and you will get all simply you listen to it, and you attempt the assignments, clear. Till then, thank you.